People very commonly ask what fish you can put with goldfish. Now, in general, the zebra danio is a really good option. There's actually lots of different types of danios you could look at, and the mountain clouds are a very good option. So here's the mountain clouds. There's golden mountain clouds, there's long fin mountain clouds, there's various options. I really like these golden ones with the red tails. They're absolutely beautiful little fish. Various like peppered cories are okay if your tank doesn't get too cold. You definitely don't want to go adding sucking catfish, because the sucking catfish will often suck on the side of the goldfish. Then if you did put a heater in it, then suddenly you're open to lots of different species, including the algae eating species like your bristlenose. Now this guy's a little bit skinny. So this guy is getting fed on very good quality food. This is Danichi. So quality wise, it's as good as it can get. And you can see all the little fish are nice and fat. So they're enjoying these little pellets. But when you look at the belly of a fish, you need to look at what you're feeding and how much you're feeding. So these guys are probably getting plenty of food, and this is a very good looking fish, but he just wants a little bit more pellet, a little bit more belly. And I think the easiest way to do that is by using slightly bigger pellets. Now also we're going away for a little while, so you can put a weekend block in there. With all these sorts of foods, I like to underfeed them. So if we put this one in, that'd be good for around say 4 days or so for this lot. And then if we got like an API 7-day feeder, that will do basically 2 weeks for fish like this. With all these foods, I want you to go under, not go over. And then when you're about to go away, and definitely when you get back, it never hurts to grab your phone, make a little video of the situation so we can see what's going on, and bring us a sample of water so we can check it for you, and we can make sure that we don't have any advice to give you. Other than that, with goldfish, you've got to make sure there's no picky fish, nothing like rosy barbs or what are the paradise fish or something that's going to pick on them. And then you've also got to watch the size of mouth rule. So if this guy was to get big and his mouth was big enough to swallow these guys, then we need to be aware that that is a possibility. Every time that I come, occasionally when I come over here, I get reminded that this fish is likely in excess of 10 years old. So he's actually had a very good run, and he's been very well looked after in his life. But what you do find with fish is sometimes when they're not put in a large enough aquarium, then they do emit pheromones and phenols and other things that can stunt their growth. So you could call this a bit of a bonsai fish if you want, considering that a full-size goldfish would be half the length of this tank. Oh. And yet this guy has decided not to grow. And even though he's decided not to grow, he's lived what we would consider a pretty full life, because as far as goldfish are concerned, 4 to 7 years is a pretty standard life. You certainly hear stories of longer, but once you start getting over 7 and 10 years, you're going to call that a pretty decent life for a goldfish. So this guy has certainly had a good run, and goldfish don't live forever. No. But this fella is certainly doing very well.
Yes, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with him.
No, there's not.
Except he's a bit...
Yeah, he's a bit on the skinny side.
And no matter what I put in there, you know,
yeah, I think
the fish just gobble it up.
Yeah, some bigger pellets would be good. And then with the smaller fish, like the danios, you got to think 2 maybe to 4 years is a full life. And then the really small fish, like these mountain clouds, you really want to be thinking as like more like 1 to 2 as a full life. So you can be surprised, and you can get individuals that live longer, but at the end of the day, they don't live forever. And these guys are having a great time. They're loving life. So the water quality in here at the moment, there's basically no ammonia, basically no nitrite. There's just a little bit of nitrate. pH is alkaline, which is fine. KH is about 3, which is okay, a little bit on the low side, totally happy with that. And GH is about 10. So I'm very happy with the water. So now I'm just going to do a water change and filter clean. Every time that I do a water change, I like to use the gravel cleaner. And then I get the gravel, it pulls all the waste out of the gravel, gives us a lot more value out of our water change. If the gravel's really dirty, I like to be changing the water more often. If the gravel's not dirty, it can mean that I'm up to date with the water changes, or it can mean that maybe I'm not feeding enough. Never want to change too much water at once, particularly in winter, because you can give the fish a shock. It's better to change less water and more often. And you also want to make sure that you're using water that you've removed out of the aquarium to give your filter a clean. The other thing that I'm a big fan of is switching around the decorations every now and then. I like getting some out, rotating different ones in. Keeps you and the fish nice and interested. Refilling the tank where possible. We really like to treat the water before the water goes in the tank. So we add some water ager, takes out the chlorine and chloramine and all the bad stuff. I'm just going to add a tiny little bit of GH salt, and then I'll put just a little bit of KH in there. And you really want to be adding the KH and GH according to your tests, but you want to add the water ager every time. Tested and water changed and filter cleaned, they're all nice and happy. Maybe Mr. Boat needs to go up the right direction. Beautiful.